Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube page. Week 14 rolling along here in the NFL. I'm previewing every game in Week 14. Up next, the Cardinals traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Cardinals coming off of a very disappointing loss on the road last week to the Jets. And the Seahawks coming off of a galvanizing, emotional win on the road in Chicago. The Cardinals first. The Cardinals come into this game with a record of 4-8. They will start John Skelton this week at quarterback. And if you've watched Ryan Lindley play the last couple weeks, that might have been the easiest decision any head coach has ever made. The Cardinals sit in last place in terms of points scored and yards in offense. So when that happens, sometimes it's just time to shake things up, as Ken Wisenhunt will do this week. If you look at what has put this team in a real big rut from an organizational standpoint, it was probably the signing of Kevin Kolb. When they gave Kevin Kolb all of that money, it precluded them from being able to take a quarterback in the draft the last 2 years. And when you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, it's extremely tough to win and develop any kind of consistency. Their defense actually is not that bad, has not actually played that bad this year. But I don't think anything can make up for the anemic offense that the Cardinals have played this season. And that's really just the bottom line with the Cardinals. They're going into next year, they have to figure something out with the quarterback position, whether it's through the draft, through a trade, whatever it happens to be. They need to figure it out. Ken Wisenhunt has shown when he has a quarterback, such as a Kurt Warner, he can get things done. And we look for them to shore up that position in the offseason this year. As far as the Seahawks go, 7-5 coming into this game, firmly in that sixth spot, second wild card spot in the NFC. Huge win for them last week on a couple fronts. First of all, puts them a game ahead of the Cowboys and the Redskins for that second wild card. They have the easiest schedule coming down the stretch of the season of anyone in either conference that's vying for a playoff spot. And from the other perspective, that was kind of Russell Wilson's, signature win. You saw Andrew Luck get his signature win against the Lions last week. You saw RG3 on Thanksgiving, and you saw Russell Wilson last week versus the Bears. He brought the Seahawks on the road, which they had trouble winning on the road up until last week. They put all of those doubts to rest as Russell Wilson led them down in overtime on a scoring drive and hit Sidney Rice for the game-winning touchdown. Russell Wilson's been fantastic, and he's gotten better as the season has went on. He has a quarterback rating of 100 or more in his last 4 games, 19 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, and I'll tell you what, this Russell Wilson has come by a complete surprise for me. Do you remember Matt Flynn? You remember him? The guy that the Seahawks gave a $15 million free agent deal to in the offseason? I think everyone thought at the beginning of the season he'd be the starter in Seattle. Russell Wilson went to training camp, beat him out for the job, and hasn't relinquished it since. And he's fun to watch play. A very fun quarterback to watch play. As far as their defense goes, their defense, although it has let them down late in games this season, so you might see they've only let up a little over 16 points a game. That, wow, this defense is great. I'd caution, they're a very good defense. They're a very opportunistic defense as far as causing turnovers, but they're not a great all-time defense. And I think Russell Wilson definitely bailed them out again last week. But their defense is very good at home. And I think you'll see that against the Cardinals this week. Brandon Browner will be out as he serves his suspension for his Adderall use. That'll be a situation to monitor coming down the stretch. Most notably in the playoffs, because they're going to likely be on the road the first game of the playoffs, and they'll need Richard Sherman and Brandon Browner to be solid for them heading down the stretch. But Browner will begin to serve his suspension this week, and we'll see what happens with Sherman heading forward here. They've forced a turnover the Seahawks defense has in 10 of their last 12 games. We see no reason that trend does not continue this week against what is statistically and through the eye test the worst offense in the league in the Cardinals. So we like Seattle -10 at home minus 10 at home versus the Cardinals. We like the Seahawks to move to 8-5, solidify themselves in that second wild card spot, which will then force, if you're in the NFC East and you want to get in the playoffs, you have to win that division. Because I think with the schedule the Seahawks to have down the stretch, including this week, that they're going to pretty much cruise to that second wild card spot. So again, Seattle minus 10 at home versus the porous Cardinals. Catch me on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis, and be sure to catch the rest of my Week 14 NFL predictions. Thank you.